Hey, Miss Lee, that fat mother got him the green cappy coming in here anymore? No, thank God. It's characters like that ruin your investment. When your little orphan friend coming here again? Whoa! I'd like to find out what's going on with them orphan. I bet they be the first orphan the police be interested in ever. I told you I send the orphans things. A little charity never hurt nobody. Makes you feel good. That really sound like Night of Joy charity when them orphan paying in a lot of money for whatever they getting. Stop worrying about the orphans and start worrying about my floor. I got enough problems already. Darlene wants to dance. You want a raise, and I got worse problems on top of that. Lana thought of the plainclothesmen who had suddenly started to appear in the club late at night. Business stinks. Yeah, I can tell that. I'm starving to death in this cat house. Say, Jones, you been over to the precinct lately? Lana asked cautiously, wondering whether there was an outside chance that Jones might be leading the cops to the place. This Jones was turning out to be a headache, in spite of the low salary. No, I ain't been visiting all my police friend. I'll wait until I get some good evidence. Jones shot out in Nimbus formation. I'm waiting for a break in the orphan case. Woo-wee! Lana twisted up her coral lips and tried to imagine who had tipped off the police. Mrs. Riley could not believe that it had really happened to her. There was no television. There were no complaints. The bathroom was empty. Even the roaches seemed to have pulled up stakes. She sat at the kitchen table, sipping a little muscatel, and blew away the one baby roach that was starting to cross the table. The tiny body flew off the table and disappeared, and Mrs. Riley said, "So long, darling." She poured another inch of wine, realizing for the first time that the house smelled different, too. It smelled as close as it ever did, but her son's curious personal odor, which always reminded her of the scent of old tea bags, seemed to have lifted. She lifted her glass and wondered whether Levy Pants was beginning to reek a little of used Pico. Suddenly, Mrs. Riley remembered the horrible night that she and Mr. Riley had gone to the Prytania to see Clark Gable and Jean Harlow in Red Dust. In the heat and confusion that had followed their return home, nice Mr. Riley had tried one of his indirect approaches, and Ignatius was conceived. Poor Mr. Riley. He had never gone to another movie as long as he lived. Mrs. Riley sighed and looked at the floor to see whether the baby roach was still around and functioning. She was in too pleasant a mood to harm anything. While she was studying the linoleum, the telephone rang in the narrow hall. Mrs. Riley corked her bottle and put it in the cold oven. "Hello," she said into the telephone. "Hey, Irene," a woman's hoarse voice asked. "What you doing, babe? It's Santa Battaglia. How you making, honey?" "I'm beat. I just finished opening 4 dozen oysters out in the backyard," Santa said in her rocky baritone. "That's hard work, believe me, banging that oyster knife on them bricks." "I wouldn't try nothing like that," Mrs. Riley said honestly. "I don't mind. When I was a little girl, I used to open oysters up for my mama. She had her a little seafood stand outside the Lautenschlager market. Poor mama. Right off the boat. Couldn't speak a word of English hardly. There I was, just a little thing breaking them oysters open. I didn't go to no school. Not me, babe. I was right there with them oysters, banging away on the banquette. Every now and then, Mama start banging away on me for something. We always had a lot of commotion around our stand, us. Your mama was very excitable, huh? Poor girl. Standing there in the rain and cold with her old sunbonnet on, not knowing what nobody was saying half the time. It was hard in them days, Irene. Things was tough, kid." "You can say that again," Mrs. Riley agreed. "We sure had us some hard times down on Dauphine Street. Papa was very poor. He had him a job by a wagon works, but then the automobiles come in and he gets his hand caught in a fan belt. Many's the week we lived on red beans and rice." "Red beans gives me gas." "Me too. Listen, Santa, why you called, sugar?" "Oh, yeah, I almost forgot. You remember when we was out bowling the other night?" "Tuesday?" "No, it was Wednesday, I think. Anyway, it was the night Angelo got arrested and couldn't come." "Wasn't that awful, the police arresting one of their very own?" "Yeah, poor Angelo. He's so sweet. He sure got trouble at that precinct." Santa coughed hoarsely into the telephone. "Anyway, it was the night you come for me in that car of yours and we went to the alley alone. This morning, I was over by the fish market buying them oysters. And this old man comes up to me and says, 'Wasn't you by the bowling alley the other night?' So I says, 'Yeah, mister, I go there a lot.' And he says, 'Well, I was there with my daughter and her husband, and I seen you with a lady got sort of red hair.' I says, 'You mean the lady got the henna hair? That's my friend Miss Riley. I'm learning her how to bowl.' That's all, Irene. He just tips his hat and walks out the market." I wonder who that could be, Mrs. Riley said with great interest. That's sure funny. What he looks like, babe? Nice man, kind of old. I seen him around the neighborhood before taking some little kids to mass. I think they his grandchildren. Ain't that strange? Who'd be asking about me? I don't know, kid, but you better watch out. Somebody's got their eye on you. Aw, Santa, I'm too old, girl. Listen to you. You still cute, Irene. I seen plenty of men giving you the eye in the bowling alley. Ah, go on. That's the truth, kid. I ain't lying. You've been stuck away with that son of yours too long. Ignatius says he's making good at Levy pants, Mrs. Riley said defensively. I don't want to get mixed up with no old man. He ain't that old, Santa said, sounding a little hurt. Listen, Irene, me and Angelo coming by for you about 7 tonight. I don't know, darling. Ignatius been telling me I ought to stay home more. Why you gotta stay home, girl? Angelo says he's a big man. Ignatius says he's afraid when I leave him alone here at night. He says he's scared of burglars. Bring him along, and Angelo can learn him how to bowl, too. Whew! Ignatius ain't what you'd call the sporting type, Mrs. Riley said quickly. You come along anyways, huh? Okay, Mrs. Riley said finally. I think the exercise is helping my elbow out. I'll tell Ignatius he can lock himself up in his room. Sure, Santa said. Nobody's gonna hurt him. We ain't got nothing worth stealing anyways. I don't know where Ignatius gets them ideas of his. Me and Angelo be by at 7. Fine, and listen, precious. Try and ask by the fish market who that old man is. The Levy home stood among the pines on a small rise overlooking the gray waters of Bay St. Louis. The exterior was an example of elegant rusticity. The interior was a successful attempt at keeping the rustic out entirely. A permanently 75-degree womb connected to the year-round air conditioning unit by an umbilicus of vents and pipes that silently filled the rooms with filtered and reconstituted Gulf of Mexico breezes and exhaled the Levy's carbon dioxide and cigarette smoke and ennui. The central machinery of the great life-giving unit throbbed somewhere in the acoustically tiled bowels of the home, like a Red Cross instructor giving cadence in an artificial respiration class. In comes the good air, out goes the bad air, in comes the good air. The home was as sensually comfortable as the human womb supposedly is. Every chair sank several inches at the lightest touch, foam and down surrendering abjectly to any pressure. The tufts of the acrylic nylon carpets tickled the ankles of anyone kind enough to walk on them. Beside the bar, what looked like a radio dial would, upon being turned, make the lighting throughout the house as mellow or as bright as the mood demanded. Located throughout the house within easy walking distance of one another were contour chairs, a massage table, and a motorized exercising board whose many sections prodded the body with a motion that was at once gentle yet suggestive. Levy's Lodge, that was what the sign at the coast road said, was a Xanadu of the senses. Within its insulated walls, there was something that could gratify anything. Mr. and Mrs. Levy, who considered each other the only ungratifying objects in the home, sat before their television set, watching the colors merge together on the screen. Perry Como's face is all green, Mrs. Levy said, with great hostility. He looks like a corpse. You'd better take the set back to the shop. I just brought it back from New Orleans this week, Mr. Levy said, blowing on the black hairs of his chest that he could see through the V of his terry cloth robe. He had just taken a steam bath and wanted to dry himself completely. Even with year-round air conditioning and central heating, one could never be sure. Well, take it back again. I'm not going to go blind looking at a broken TV. Oh, shut up. He looks all right. He does not look all right. Look how green his lips are. It's the makeup those people use. You mean to tell me they put green makeup on Como's lips? I don't know what they do. Of course you don't, Mrs. Levy said, turning her aquamarine-lidded eyes toward her husband, who was submerged somewhere among the pillows of a yellow nylon couch. She saw some terry cloth and a rubber shower clog at the end of a hairy leg. Don't bother me, he said. Go play with your exercising board. I can't get on that thing tonight. My hair was done today. She touched the high, plasticized curls of her platinum hair. The hairdresser told me that I should get a wig, too, she said. What do you want with a wig? Look at all the hair you've got already. I want a brunette wig. That way I can change my personality. Look, you're already a brunette anyway, right? So why don't you let your hair grow out naturally and buy a blonde wig? I hadn't thought of that. Well, think about it for a while and keep quiet. I'm tired. When I went into town today, I stopped at the company. That always makes me depressed. What's happening there? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. That's what I thought, Mrs. Levy sighed. You've thrown your father's business down the drain. That's the tragedy of your life. Christ, who wants that old factory? Nobody's buying the kind of pants they make anymore. That's all my father's fault. When pleats came in the 30s, you wouldn't change over from plain front trousers. He was the Henry Ford of the garment industry. Then, when the plain front came back in the 50s, he started making trousers with pleats. Now you should see what Gonzalez calls the new summer line. They look like those balloon pants the clowns wear in circuses. And the fabric, I wouldn't use it for a dish rag myself. When you were married, I idolized you, Gus. Excuse me. When we were married, I idolized you, Gus. I thought you had drive. You could have made Levy pants really big. Maybe even an office in New York. It was handed all to you and you threw it away. Oh, stop all that crap. You're comfortable. Your father had character. I respected him. My father was a very mean and cheap man, a little tyrant. I had some interest in that company when I was young. I had plenty interest. Well, he destroyed all that with his tyranny, so far as I'm concerned. Levy Pants is his company. Let it go down the drain. He blocked every good idea I had for that firm. Just to prove that he was the father and I was the son. If I said pleats, he said no pleats, never. If I said, let's try some of the new synthetics, he said synthetics over my dead body.